So what I'd like to do at this point is give you a chance to sort of approach this pool as if you think you might, as a volunteer visiting a pool as part of this project, and break into small groups with your data sheets, wander around. It really extends quite a ways that way. You don't need to go terribly far for this. If you were doing this as a field assessment, you would want to walk around the entire perimeter.
These are the sperm packets laid by the male salamanders, both the spotted and the blue spotted. Can you see them? They're like little volcanoes of sperm. The salamander, they do a courtship dance. Salamanders, the spotted salamander is a group, which is called a congress, and the female salamander will pick up whomever's, because it's a group nudging. So she chooses the spermatophore and takes it up through her cloaca. It's a very gentle process, sure, as opposed to the drown.
And actually, I noticed that there are egg masses laid on the bottom of this birch bark. Can you all see that?
There we go.
This is a better one to lift up because they're not going to fall off like this stick. These would be blue spot hybrids, likely, because they're long strings along the stick. On the other side of the pool, I was lifting up balsam boughs that had fallen in and found individual eggs. So it's likely that there are both blue spotted hybrids and pure blue spots in this pool. I don't want to lift this a whole lot, but can everybody see this? You guys see that?
Don't put it down yet, we've got a picture.
Okay. I'm worried about these ones between my fingers.
Oh.
I'll lift a few more sticks up so you can see. But these are egg masses that you could very easily miss. And you can see that right here, if you were counting egg masses, you would count you would count each one of these eggs. Because they can be laid as individual eggs can be laid as a single mass. You would count each one, and right here, just based on what's here in on this piece of birch bark, you would reach the 10 egg mass threshold. But if I put this back, you guys set? Yeah. With photographs? If I put that back and start to lift other sticks, you realize that.
There's one right on the end of that stick.
On the end of that stick, yeah.
And look at this. This is what I was looking for.
Oh, it's like jewel.
Can you see this?
Yeah.
They're so drippy that that you need to be really careful lifting them up because they'll just drip right off. But you can still kind of carefully with your hands count 1, 2, reaching underneath, 3, 4. Here's a small one if you can see this. This is a much more recently laid egg mass. It's much tighter. The individual eggs are much more firm. So on this cluster of sticks, what did I say? There were 5 or something? 4 or 5, 6, 7. There's another new one, 8, and you'll just sort of work your way through this. For those of you that have boots on and can get close enough here, it's worth feeling these things and sort of moving your hands underneath to get a sense of how many layers deep it is.
I also do that every now and then. I don't know why. They probably got something. That would be mine. There was deer stuff. That was. Yeah, I think she said that earlier.
Where's intermittent?
You
Just add it in.
Oh,
Okay.
And I would say this was a natural origin.
Oh yeah.
Do we have options or we have to read?
You have to write it in.
Okay.
He said it was all farmland.
Yeah, I believe it. Just that whole road was.
So we
Yeah.
ephemeral.
Ephemeral means here, the first, right here.
Yeah. It's lowland, a little swampy.
Well, we've got these choices right here, first of all. So, isolated upland depression, floodplain depression, pool
What's their plan
associated
for this?
with
Are you
larger
going to walk around
wetland
and talk to them, or are you just going to wait to talk until it's all
See,
done?
I'm thinking
Otherwise,
it
I can
would be an
switch to
isolated
the
upland
microphone, or if you're
depression,
gonna-
only because if you look around the pool,
It's a classic circle shape.
and all the land is going up, so, yeah.
Expensive, and I just feel like we definitely
Recently harvested. How recent is recent?
really recently. Like it would be like, you know, for successional species. But then in terms of like intensive development, like since you don't know, it hasn't happened yet. That's why I put other there's new development.
The wetland habitat characterization. Anyone have an idea about that? Let's discuss that.
Isolated.
Okay, we have 2 votes for isolated upland depression.
I agree.
Okay, you're all wrong, and you all get B minuses. If you
saying earlier was lowland around here.
Well, if you walk around the pool, I saw many people were walking around the pool and into the woods, but many people were not. If you walk around, you'll see, particularly back here, you'll see a swale here. And you know, I'll give you credit. Some of the forested wetland is no longer, but this is actually part of a larger complex. There's a forested wetland that is attached to this. You can see a lot of low-lying areas in here, so this isn't a classic upland depression.
The wetland habitat characterization. How would you guys characterize this pool? Based on what you've seen and what you've learned in the last hour. Yeah, why? Yeah.
And it's isolated.
Perfect. Great. Anybody have any questions about that? We're really at the height of land. If you wander around a little ways from the pool, it's certainly upland surrounding this pool. This site is pretty straightforward in terms of the habitat characterization.
Check all wetland types that best apply to this pool. What did people have for that? And that's basically the pool itself, the breeding pool. What do people have? Okay, I'm glad we're going over that. That's not in the breeding pool itself. What are the wetland types in the pool itself, not the surrounding habitat? Shallow pond. And you might put in there shallow to deep. I mean, the middle of it I'm not standing in. It might be shallow water, but the peat there is pretty deep. But that's exactly right. There is no vegetation in here. This is the type of, you know, deep woods pool where plants don't do well. It's mostly leaf litter and woody debris in a shallow pond.
Predominant substrate. If you remember that the substrate is goes from driest to wettest. So on the upper left-hand side, that it talks about mineral soil, bare leaf litter bottom, upland mosses present. If you go into a pool and it's a firm substrate, you're walking around, you're not sinking into sort of, you know, you don't have that experience. It's likely that it's more of an ephemeral pool that dries up and has the opportunity to dry at some point during the year. Whereas the other extreme, if you go to a pool, and even if it's dried down, but it's very, the soil is very saturated and mucky, that's more of a not permanent, semi-permanent pool.
I had a question about the egg mass count part of this data sheet, which was, if I get to my 40 wood frog egg masses, do I stop? So I'm going to repeat that We want absolute numbers, so count all of the egg masses. Don't stop once you get to significance, because we're constantly interested in seeing what the characteristics of pool in the region are, how many egg masses are typical, and so forth. So do count all of the egg masses of all species each of the 2 times that you do it, okay?
Allison was asking, if you're determining significance based on egg masses, how many species need to be in a pool? If you're counting up 40 or more wood frog egg masses, 20 or more spotted salamander egg masses, or 10 or more blue spotted egg masses, do they all those species need to be present? The answer is no. Only one of the indicator species needs to be present. So this pool, based on the huge mats of wood frog egg masses, would certainly meet the criteria for significance based on egg mass counts or egg mass numbers. And then anytime you have the presence of fairy shrimp, that's an automatic yes for significance. It would be considered significant based on the presence.